Welcome, friends, to episode 39 of the Seekers of the Eternal podcast. This week, I'm pleased to announce that we have special guest, my brother, Matt Parks, also known as Madhava. He was given his Indian name by spiritual teacher, renowned bhakti artist Siya Marani Dasi. He is a disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda, initiated in the path of Kriya Yoga at Ananda village. He is a sacred art painter, my right-hand man in all of the murals and gallery artwork that we collaborate on. We talk about joy, bliss, flow states, manifesting. We talk about our mindset for painting and staying focused and inspired, and the energy flowing through us for long periods as we work on murals together. We just painted a large scale image of Garuda in Akron, Ohio, as well as the recent series of murals that we painted at the Muay Thai Pro Wrestling Dojo. I'm really looking forward to sharing this podcast with you. I love getting to spend time with my brother and paint together and have conversations together. So this is a great one. Also, my podcast partner, Jason DeRocha, is with us, sharing his insights as always and asking us some great questions. And as always, you can support this podcast by checking out our online store. We have t-shirts like this one, Hanuman release that came out recently, as well as screen printed posters. We have Web3 offerings. We also have a new Seekers of the Eternal Instagram page account there. It's at Seekers of the Eternal on Instagram, and every Tuesday on Instagram Live, I host a 30-minute gathering where we practice. We're currently practicing meditation on manifestation techniques. So that's a wonderful thing that we can do together. Join in. I'm sharing my experiences as I'm practicing with some really incredible techniques. Wonderful way to gather there. So join us, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Blessings, friends.
Fear not, fellow seekers. Peace awaits you in the unknown.
Well, welcome back to the Seekers of the Eternal podcast. We are your hosts, Jason DeRocha and Chris Parks. And Chris, you brought someone very magical today.
Yeah, I got my brother here with me today, Matt, or Madhava. We're fresh from painting some murals in Ohio, as well as the dojo that we talked about recently. And yeah, we're looking forward to sharing some of our adventures and some of the things that we've been getting into lately.
Yeah, been some exciting projects that we've been working on. So very happy to be with you guys here today.
Yeah, can't wait to hear about it. I've been seeing some of the pictures on Insta and that you've been sharing, and it's like watching magic unfold, especially when you do like the time lapse and you see it kind of come together. But yeah, I can't wait to maybe dig into hearing a little bit about the process, working together as brothers, some of your takeaways and some of the learnings, obviously, that you have to share. So yeah, get excited for this podcast.
Happy to have him here with us. And let's begin as always. We're going to relax and release the tension in the body and just prepare our minds here as we drop in together. So let's go ahead and just take a deep, normal inhalation, breathing in and all the way out. And now double inhale, intense. Inhale, tensing all the muscles, low, medium, high, vibrate with willingness, and exhale. Relax, release, feel. Again, inhale, intense. Low, medium, high, vibrate with willpower. Exhale. Relax, release, feel the body. Again, inhale, intense. Low, medium, high, tension, just a bit higher, and exhale. Relax, release, feel. And just opening with the little prayer here. Oh, Spirit, be with us today as we offer our experiences. Let us share and channel wisdom and truth as best as we can so that we can spread this joy and this high frequency energy with everyone who is listening, to inspire your day, to encourage you on your journey, to help you feel more connected with the world around you and in harmony with the universe. Om, peace. Amen. And as you are listening now currently, I'd like us to drop into the present moment together again here. I like just taking a moment, just like we did in the last podcast, begin to look around in the space, whatever environment that you're in currently, wherever you're at. Look around the environment and then just narrow in on something that catches your eye. Find that. And now look at it and say to yourself, joy, 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 joy. Begin to look at whatever it is, noticing the texture, maybe the way the light hits it, recognizing that you are currently in an infinite fractal universe that is vibrating energy patterns, that you are an infinite being. You had no beginning. You will have no end. Begin to listen to the sounds in the space. Whatever it is, maybe sounds of cars or buzzing noises. Just listen without putting any sort of description on what you're listening to. And continue to say to yourself, joy, joy, joy. Enjoying the sounds, enjoying the sight, and feeling joy within your body. Begin to notice just how much more here you are, right here, right now. Thanks, friends. So that moment of just dropping in, you can do anytime, anywhere you are.
It's beautiful. I love it. That's one of my best practices now that I do quite often, is just remind myself, just sit in the moment quietly and appreciate that space.
Another
My eyes,
little layer. Yeah, go ahead.
my eyes did fixate on a picture of Anna and Elsa. My kids put a magnet on the filing cabinet here. So when you said, just it was something that catches your attention, that caught my attention. And then I'm staring at it and I'm like, why am I staring at a picture of Anna and Elsa? And then, but as a parent, like it just brings you into that space, like you're reminded of your kids and that the age that they're at, and that how temporary that is, and that they're about to be done this stage, right? They're always about to be done this stage and go on to the next. It's all so quick. And so it just reminded me to just be so appreciative of the kids at this age, because this is it. I won't get this again with them, and as a parent of young children, sometimes it can feel overwhelming and exhausting. This morning, I was just to get them out of bed, to eat their cereal, to get dressed in time, to get them to camp, can feel really stressful. But when I look back on it in 20 years, I'm sure I'm just going to miss just this entire moment and this feeling. And, these types of exercises are just always really important to maybe just remind yourself of, in the moment that sometimes feels so stressful, you may give your right arm to go back to in 20 years, just to feel that stress and just to feel that rush and,
Yeah.
and the frustration that comes with it, because it's always a fleeting moment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we're alive, right? Like, why do we watch movies that have a lot of suspense and drama and heartache and sadness and joy and adventure? It's like, we as humans, we like change, as Yogananda says. We love change. Why do you watch sports? You love to, maybe your team could lose,
Yeah.
we just, as human beings, as manifestations of God, as you know, as the Bible says that we are created in God's image. So these things that we enjoy, that we are drawn towards. I remember, I think it was Joseph Campbell. He said that the angels are enamored by the creations of time. You know, this whole universe is just time moving from one moment to the next, and it's like we get to enjoy being in this place where everything is changing and shifting it's so this idea of what God is in India. I love how they describe, you know, in America is really, we use that word God and it really doesn't have any meaning, but in India, Sat Chit Ananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And that little present moment that we dropped into here, that we're in now, we're ever present, so ever conscious, and it's ever new bliss. And so we always have that ability to feel what it feels like to be God, experiencing God.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, and that you're doing it on purpose. That you wanted to be here, even in those stressful moments, even in the times when it's really difficult. You know, it's so easy to forget that, like, oh, I'm doing this because it's fun. I'm doing this because I want to be here, because this is the best way for me to learn, to grow, to like
Yeah.
advance in consciousness. Really, that's what we are. And like you're saying too, the constant ever newness, you know, often in life it can seem monotonous. You know, you wake up every day, you kind of have to like, oh, get up out of bed today, you know, all right, brush your teeth, all right, here's your breakfast, all right, you got to get to school. And it can seem like you're doing the same thing, but every single moment is a moment that's never happened before. You
Yeah.
know, even every time you see your own face, it's not the same face. Every time you see your children, they're not the same. You know,
Mm,
everywhere you've ever gone has never been the same, even from moment to moment. That's the ever newness, you know.
yeah.
And when you're doing the practice that Chris just talked about, where you're just like, and it's something too that one of our teachers, Premdas, he told me, like, when we were at the grounds there, and he's just like, yeah, I was telling him, I was like, man, it just feels so great to be here all the time. And he's like, yeah, I just walk around and go joy, joy, joy. And I was like, I can feel that, you know? And it's just like, yeah, like, and so that's just something that you can do that creates an ever new moment in every
Yeah.
moment, you know. It's this gratitude, and then giving joy to that moment by deciding that, okay, I can develop joy within, and then give that to what I'm looking at, give that to what I'm listening to, even if it's, you know, an argument that you're having and someone's telling you you're terrible or something.
Yeah.
You know, you could be like, okay, I'm going to decide that that's joy, and like, okay, this is what I want to be hearing right now, because it's actually going to elevate me, you know,
Mm,
in every way that's happening, you know, is joy.
yeah. That's big. That is big, Matt. Like the idea that every moment is new can be then perceived as a gift, right? And I think we're always seeking. That's the weird part. It's all new. We've never experienced it feels familiar because we did something similar yesterday, but we're that much older. Things have all moved, things are all changed. You know, evolution is constant. But we long for newness, like a new, like something that's not familiar, that's completely different. But if you approach life with the mentality that every experience is essentially a new experience and has the potential to be whatever it is that you want it to be,
Mhm.
this idea that you have an opportunity, you don't have to write about your experiences and that's the book you're writing. You can actually author the experiences that you want to have, you know, which
Yeah.
I think is really, really what you're to the point of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's really great. I like that concept of like you're authoring the moment of everything that you're experiencing. So the the writing might be telling you that this is a difficult situation, or this is stressful, or you don't want to be fighting with your kids to get up out of them in the morning, get out of bed in the morning, you know, or maybe something at your job that like, oh, I wish I didn't have to write this report right now or something, you know.
Yeah.
But then deciding like, oh, oh, I actually get to decide whether this is fun or not. And you can just be like, oh, I'm the author, so now I decide this is fun.
Right.
And then you get the control back of being able to experience joy even in something that just a moment ago you hated every day up to that moment, and then you're like, oh, actually I get to decide this is fun. And then
Right.
you find the thing that's fun within it, and you make a little, you can make a little game out of like doing it a little bit better than you did yesterday, or just deciding like, oh, I can have fun just typing this thing. I can have fun just like, even if it's this way, like how do I give joy to the person I'm arguing with? How do I
Right.
give joy to this like little moment? And then it actually changes the moment, and like there's even like a story that comes to mind about this, of one of the people living at the ashram. And every day Yogananda would assign people different things to do each day, because they had these grounds, everybody lives there, they got to do different things, take care of all these things that they have to do. And during the winter, it would get snowy and cold, and so there was like a thing that somebody had to do where they had to go and clean up the grounds on this like really muddy, snowy hill. And like there's a certain project that they had to do every day just to keep the grounds looking good. And this one guy, everybody would get assigned a different thing every day, but every day he got assigned the same terrible job of having to go slush around and clean the grounds and like do this terrible thing on the hill. And he would come back muddy and cold and just like miserable every day. And he'd be like, why is he giving me the same thing every day? And he's just like arguing in his mind, but he's like, okay, I'm gonna keep listening, but like I just wish I didn't have to do this. And the more, then he would give him more time to do it. He'd be like, okay, you need to be out there for 4 hours today. You need to be out there, and he'd just be like, why is this happening? And then he just decided one day, he's like, oh, actually, I'm going to decide that I like doing this, and he was like, oh, and then he woke up, he's like, oh, I'm excited to go out and climb that hill and clear all the snow away or whatever. And then that day, Yogananda was like, okay, you actually just have to go do this other thing inside, And he was like, oh, okay. And then he never had to do that again. And I think
That's cool.
yeah, and I think that even in life, like that's what it's doing for us, is this
Mm,
like we get to decide. And so it's going to be frustrating, frustrating, frustrating until you be like, oh, actually I can feel really good in this moment, and then life is like, okay, you learned that lesson, here's like a new thing,
yeah.
here's something you actually enjoy already. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's kind of Chris to what your point was, right? Like about like when it comes to like learning, like constantly asking yourself, well, what are you trying to teach me here? What is the lesson? What am I meant to learn here? And if you don't like the way, you're having this experience, whatever it is, then you can, speak to the infinite and say, I didn't like that experience, and help me to experience something different. Or what is it that you're trying to teach me through that experience? Help me learn it quickly so I don't have to have that same experience again.
Right. It becomes chronic if we don't learn the lesson. It just keeps coming until you learn it. Just like that disciple. It's like you're just gonna keep getting the hard work until you just accept it. It reminded me also of that, the serenity prayer that everybody knows, that Lord, help me to change the things that however it goes, help me to change the things that I can, help me to accept the things that I can't change. The thing that we can change is how we feel about what's happening. So
Mm,
you're not supposed to go around changing the outside world. It's change how you feel about it, how you're experiencing it. I love the Yogananda would talk about movies all the time. And I like to think about sitting next to someone we're watching a movie together, say Matt's really enjoying the movie and I'm not enjoying, like, oh, why does the plot have to be like this? Why does the hero always have to be running into trouble? Why do they always have to be, like, why do they always have to be going through all these plot twists? And I'm just always like disgruntled and saying how terrible it is and complaining. And you just be like, shut up and just watch the movie, enjoy it. How it's so, and that seems to be what we're always doing, is complaining about what's happening rather than trusting the director to give us something that's really valuable and great. And maybe the director is so genius that he's writing something that we don't quite get yet at the moment, but if we would just shut up and experience it, we would recognize how incredible really that this movie is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes and this comes to me as a parent, when I'm watching a show with my kids, um sometimes the shows are so they're for an adult. Some Disney does it right sometimes where there's a little bit of entertainment for adults, there's a little bit of entertainment for the kids. That stuff for the adults the kids don't pick up on. Um anyways, but there's some shows where I'm like, oh my God, I have to sit through this. But while I'm watching the show, it's not so much about, even like my interpretation of that. It's the interpretation of even just the moment itself, to be able to sit with my children quietly, to make them feel like they have my undivided attention, that I'm enjoying what they're enjoying and I'm seeing it through their eyes. And when they laugh at a joke and they look at me to see if I found it funny, I laugh too, or I'll say, that's so silly? And they laugh even harder and then they snuggle closer. There's this really cool opportunity, even when you're watching a movie you don't like. There may be other things that you can appreciate around that experience, if you're really paying attention. And so I try to make sure, like, sometimes I'll be on my daughter will say to me, can you watch this show or this movie with me? And I'm like, sure. And I sit beside her and then I jump on my phone, and she doesn't, well, she's like, Daddy, I thought you were watching this movie with me. She just wants me to be in the moment with her. And it forces me to put my phone down and just be there and in the moment. It's not about the movie. It's about me being there with my daughter. So anyways,
No,
long story
absolutely.
long, but yeah.
No, that's it. That's it. It's like I think about that all the time. It's just it's about syncing up with the other people around you. And because it's always like you could be at one level, and then somebody's on another level, like you're happy, they're sad, you're happy, so you're trying to convey something that's really exciting to you, but maybe they're in a sour mood and they're not hearing it, and you're just like, oh, you're not listening to me. Or like we're always just like, we could all probably get it if we were in the same
Yeah.
vibration. And I think that same vibration is joy. I wanted to read, this is a book, How to Be Happy All the Time. I came across this morning when I was thinking about this idea. This is Yogananda. He says, evil is the absence of true joy. This is what makes it evil, you see. Otherwise, can you say that a tiger commits evil in killing its prey? To kill is the tiger's nature given to it by God. Nature's laws are impersonal. Evil comes into the picture when one has the potential for attaining inner joy. Anything that separates us from that divine state of being is evil for us, because it distances us from awareness, from that which we really are, and from that which we really want in life. I love that idea. It's like we're always so concerned over, is this evil? Is this good? Or is this bad? Or is that? The only thing that makes it evil is if in the moment we are not feeling joy. That's
Mhm.
what we're supposed to be doing all the time.
Mhm.
Whenever you're feeling off, whenever you're feeling scared, nervous, afraid, angry, all of these things, you're off the path. Like it's our job to always be feeling joy. Absence of joy is evil.
Mm.
So that's our job all the time. So when you're wondering what to do, the always the answer is feel joy, and
Yeah.
joy is always flowing to us. It's we, by our love, by our joy, that completes that circuit, that
Yeah.
God is always giving it to us.
So I really want to, like, this is such a powerful point, and I really want to be really clear here because, um, there's so many atrocities that visit the earth and people's experiences every day, that there could be people listening to this that's like, if you knew my life, you would know how hard it is to experience joy or to stay in a joyful, moment. And there's truth in that. And so I really want to maybe dig in here a little bit. When you were saying that, I think it goes back to what you were saying in terms of, like, you can't predict everything you're going to experience. So I'm going to walk out of my house and I have no idea what I'm going to confront. So the act of experiencing joy has to be in a space before you leave your house, before you get out of bed. You almost it's put being in a space of joy is like you're putting on your clothes in the morning. You're putting on joy. I'm wearing joy today. I don't know what I'm going to anticipate when I'm going outside, but I know I'm going to be wearing joy. I'm going to be in my joy. And so I have this choice. I have this choice to experience something and just get caught up in that moment. And that's when I'll experience evil. That's when I will witness it. Or I experience it, but I do not allow it to take away my joy. Actually, and Mike Tyson has this really powerful quote that he was having this conversation with this really young. I think it was either like a he was either a musician or he was another boxer, and but he's young. And he says to Mike Tyson, he's like, if someone wrongs me, I just cut them out, cut them out. And Mike Tyson's like, ooh, he goes, then they win, then evil wins. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're telling me that if someone wrongs me, someone hurts me, and I choose to cut them out of my life. He's like, how do they win? How do I let evil win? And he says, because they changed you. They own you. They are dictating what you need, what you're about to do. He says, don't give that power over to them. And I was just like, man, that is, and then you should see the light bulb moment. I'll put it in the show notes afterwards. But that light bulb moment for him is like, wow, yeah, you're giving it all up to whatever that experience is or whatever that person is, as opposed to wearing that joy that wherever it is that you decided to get out of bed that morning and say, I'm going to stay in my joy. To maintain that means that you're not giving control over to evil or to something else or to someone else.
Yeah, man. Nobody, like Yogananda would say, nobody has the power to make you happy or unhappy. Nobody has that. You give them that power, and you have the ability to feel the way that you want to feel about it. I think that's such a great point, is like before you go start your day, yeah, are you taking a moment to, because we're talking about, see, we're talking about becoming extraordinary. So we're saying, but and this is Genevieve Davis. She'll say, if you want to become extraordinary, you have to do extraordinary things. We're not talking to those who are not looking to do extraordinary things with their life. So you have to, like, what are you doing to stoke that fire of joy within you? This doesn't just come. This doesn't just happen. And also too, like what I would say is, whenever I say that, I also preface it with, start with the small things, friends. Like when you talk about feeling joy about everything, don't like immediate. I think what happens is a lot of times you hear a conversation like this and you immediately jump to the most horrific thing that you can think of. And then you try to say, well, I couldn't feel joy while I was looking at that. I was like, well, you're not a Jedi master yet, bro. Just relax. Stop jumping all the way to the worst thing that you can think of and say, like, right now in my state, I couldn't do that. Oh,
Yeah.
duh.
Right. Yeah.
Like, why don't you start with, things that are mildly frustrating or annoying, or somebody says something mildly frustrating to you, and then could you, in that moment,
Right.
change it a little bit?
Yeah, that's the secret, right? That's how you get there. Sorry, Matt, you were going to say.
Yeah, I think like yeah, that point also, that like start with something small, and then also that when you're trying to feel joy within all the time, we're not saying this is easy. Like, being happy isn't an easy thing. It takes a lot of effort to feel that. So if you're in a place where you're constantly iterating to yourself that you're miserable, like, that's a lot of weight. You've been putting that weight on every day, and so you've made a very big thing that you have to lift now. So break it into little pieces and then lift those pieces one by one and be like, okay, I can feel joy in this moment that maybe is a little bit difficult. Maybe just the commute on the way to work. You can just little moments of like, when I used to practice in traffic, like somebody would cut me off or something would happen, just like little things that would happen, and just like, oh, this is actually for me. Actually, I'm being protected. And then I would see things like, I would be cut off and then have to stop at a light, and then somebody would run the red light in the other way, and I was like, it was just affirming, like, yeah, this is protection, you know.
Right.
And then when you're just like, oh, and then just looking around being like, everything around me is actually just trying to protect me. It's all like, rather than this world, look at the world where it's like the world is some kind of terrible thing that you have to fight against, that like really God is love and God is everything, and everything is for you to experience pure bliss,
Yeah.
joy all the time. And this state of mind isn't, it also isn't rejecting the reality of pain that exists around you, right? So it's not like you're just going around saying I'm in joy and there's nothing bad in the world. Like,
Right.
no. This is, I describe it because I used to do a lot of mountain biking, and like, if you watch, you can go on YouTube and watch like pros mountain biking with a GoPro on their head, and you watch this like insane, terrain that they're riding through, and it's like so tumultuous. Is there's like, on one side it's a sheer cliff that is ultimate death, on the other side it's just these rocks where you're gonna, you crash into that, you're done.
Mm.
And so, but there's one path. You can see the one way there is to go, that you don't die and you have like a ton of fun, because mountain biking is so much fun, but it's so difficult and so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And so, and this is the same thing, anybody who's like ridden motorcycles or anything like that, the thing you look at is where you end up. So you're only focusing on the path you do want to be on, not because you're unaware or rejecting the reality of the path on the either side. It's because you know very well what's on either side. So you're
Yeah.
only focusing on your joy because you know the rest of it is there.
Right.
This isn't a rejection of the dangers that are on either side. This is the knowledge of the path that is right and will lead to more joy, is
Yeah.
that focus on the personal joy. So
I love that both of you. I mean, must be really cool that, you guys are brothers, but you have like very similar outlooks on life now. I'm sure you both probably been through multiple stages, and now you guys both kind of see the world through this really unique lens that allows you to find joy in the moment. And then you guys are working together. You guys just did some phenomenal murals together. So I wanted to dig into just that a little bit. Like, what does it feel like working as brothers, sharing this, like this perspective? I'm sure there's going to be lots of value. I wish I was a fly on the wall when I hear your discussions when you guys are taking breaks between painting. And then what is it like to paint together and to put these murals where there's lots of expectations around the beauty, and in terms of getting it done in time and at the right price and all of those other things. So maybe if you guys don't mind, maybe sharing a little bit about this journey, as brothers, and then now obviously working together as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll start by saying we absolutely love painting murals together. It is the most fun thing that we do other than our Kriya practice. It allows us to have high stakes around something because, like you said, there's so much that goes into it. There's all the, there's the getting the gig from the client, there's the designing the artwork, the, measuring the space, getting it down under, tuning into what wants to be there, what's right for the area that you're bringing it to, what's right for the moment. All of the setup that you have, the travel plans, the getting your materials together, renting the lift, renting the Airbnb, renting the car, figuring out how to get all the stuff into your luggage that you can check. What is it going to be like when you get there? Are the people that are hosting you going to have everything that you need to go? Like, what are you eating and when? When are you going to get your meditations in, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it gives us like we know in order to pull off what we're going to do, we need every I to be dotted and T to be crossed. And so for Matt and I, who are not detail oriented time management kind of people, it has been one of the greatest educations and colleges for us to learn. And we both, I brought on Matt some years ago when we were doing the mural festival together. So we got to facilitate so many mural artists that, you know, we have high respect for, and we want to take really good care of them. So it allowed us to level up ourselves to a completely new being, you know, to new beings that were able to do things that we previously couldn't do. So when we're getting together on these murals, and you know, Matt and I are both disciples of Paramhansa Yogananda. We're both initiated into Kriya yoga. We have the same schedule in the morning with our meditations and with our energization exercises. And so when we get on that wall and we get our outlined, you know, our outline up on the wall, we have no failure thoughts in our mind. It's like you look at the wall and it's just a spaghetti of the most complex line art. And, you know, other people will come up and look at it and be like, whoa, you're going to paint that, you know? And the amount of time that you have never seems like nearly enough time to finish it. And what I've been really enjoying is that we can take our meditation practice and we can go straight to the wall with it. So what we're doing, like the things that we're talking about, allows us to put it into practice. So when we're painting, it's about what's going on in your mind, and can you keep that on point with enjoying watching the stroke go down, clearing your mind, thinking about happy, good things, and can you do that for 12 hours straight?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. And for me too, with beginning this, you know, journey together and working on this art, and, you know, the complexity of the patterns and everything that Chris has been making for years, you know, when I first started doing this, it was something I've been admiring his artwork, you know, I see his artwork and stuff like that, but there's such a difference between like really seeing the intricate way those patterns fit together and really knowing how to, you know, even just making the outlines. When we do these projections too, it's like the projection's there, yes, but it's not always super clear, and it's, you know, so we're when I first started, you know, we even were using one of those things you used to use in school where you put the transparency on and it's got the little thing and it reflects, you know, so it was just barely there. And I remember that first mural we painted together and drawing that stuff in, it was just like you say, it was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at, you know. I think this is where the line goes, I don't know, you know. And then you get to, and they're like, okay, we're supposed to paint, you look at the reference and you're like, okay, that goes you know.
Right.
So it was like it, you know, it really took a lot for me to really be like, okay, yes, this is possible, I can do this, you know. And then getting more and more into, like, I remember even as we worked on the gallery pieces that we made too, it was just like, oh, I'm able to see these patterns more. Like I'm really able to see shapes more. I'm able to see how it fits together. And even when it looks blurry in the projection and that, like now it's like, oh, I know what that shape is. Oh, I know what the
Right.
next one is, you know, understanding those patterns and things like that. And so it's been, and I feel like even doing that has been something that's like elevated my own mind, elevated my own ability to see and appreciate, you know, see how even just in nature, when you start like, I see these same patterns and shapes in nature now, and see like, oh, nature is doing that too, you know. And so, and then also
Kind of screen froze up.
again, like it was like weeks or something before we started doing that. And then so it was just like, okay, as long as I keep this mantra going, then there is a source of energy that isn't my previously understood version of myself. Like there's this other form of energy that's flowing through me to create this image of itself, you know, of that's something that it wants to convey to the world through this painting. And so as long as I kept that thought in mind and didn't like, it wasn't me making this painting, it's like this other thing just gets to, and I'm just allowing, you know, I'm showing up, I'm putting all the energy in, and then it's deciding to use this hand to do it, you know. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, So it's like a gratitude practice, it's a focus practice, it's a mantra practice. And so it's like all the things that we sit in meditation to do. That's what it takes to be able to do this for me, you know.
So was there a feeling out period for you guys? Like obviously, Chris, you've been doing this for such a long time. I mean, independently of everybody, right? Like, so you're a solo artist. And so now to bring your brother in to help, get your vision to come to life, was there any pain or frustration or stress or concern throughout the process? Or, and if there wasn't, then what was the secret? Because I think there's probably, like, I love my sister to bits, but I'm sure if we were working on a project together, I'm sure we would probably go back to the 80s and think about all the things that we used to drive each other nuts over. So was there anything ever like that? Or is it kind of like what we talked about in terms of like putting on joy before you even go out there and just being grateful that you have a chance to work with your brother?
It's cutting out a little bit right at the beginning of that.
Oh,
I got the last part of it.
sorry.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah, I think the connection is, it might be a little shoddy. Is it still breaking up?
No, it's clear now.
yeah, it's clear
Okay.
now.
I just was saying, was there any challenges in the beginning, obviously as a solo artist now to bring in your brother, to help you, to help your vision come to life? Was there any challenges, or were you guys able to kind of hit the ground running because it was like we talked about earlier, like putting on your clothes, like putting on joy, just being grateful to know that your brother's going to be out there doing it with you?
Yeah, it was a really fascinating thing for us because it was a lot of things that I had been thinking about. My whole career, I had been wanting to make this jump into painting. All my career, 20 years, I've been creating a lot of digital work and screen printed posters and things, but a lot of stuff for big agencies and clients. And I had always wanted to make this shift into painting. So I had had a lot of philosophy around painting, around how I would approach it, and all of these kind of things. And so the first job really that we did together was we painted the mural for Shine in 2017, and quickly from that we started doing the gallery pieces together and all of these kind of things. I would notice that, it's like things that I had been these lofty expectations that I had had for myself. Like I would deliver these things that I've been thinking about to Matt, and then he wanted it so bad. Like he was in a real crossroads in his life. He was thinking about he was actually packed up. His truck was packed up, ready to move to Colorado when we
Mm,
started painting together. And he was really struggling through things. He was having a bit of a mental breakdown, really, of not just feeling like he was going to leave. He was all ready to leave, and then not feeling like he's supposed to leave. And that's when we started painting together. I just had him come over to my house, and he would just paint in the practice wall in my backyard. And then previous to this, the real like thing that happened, and we shared a little bit about this we had a podcast together where we shared our whole journey and stuff you can go
mhm.
back to. But the I had it when Matt started coming over to meditate in the studio with me with the group that we started back in 2017. uh I had a full vision of us painting together, painting murals, doing gallery work, sitting here right now doing podcasts. It all seemed like this far-fetched, super far out idea because I wasn't painting at the time. He wasn't. He was painting houses with my dad and doing just manual labor, things like that at the time. But I had the whole thing so clear in my mind one night after our meditation. So I was just kind of waiting for the moment for what, and I was like, okay, he's moving away. That's, maybe it's not going to happen, whatever. And then when he was having the breakdown and then he started painting at my house, I was like, all right, and I didn't tell him all of this, that I had this vision of everything that we were doing. I was just like watching it start to happen. I was like, oh, wow, like he can really paint. Like, whoa, he's kind of better than I am already at this. Like, whoa, that's cool. And so I just started teaching him all of the things, the mental part of it, the things that I was thinking about, and instilling that. And he had already at that time been, taking initiate, he was already practicing with meditation and on this path of Kriya Yoga already. So I knew that he had what it took with the discipline and the concentration and all of that. So yeah, it was like, we like, say like the movie The Matrix. Now we also like that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Mm,
where you verse jump. So you have this idea that in some timeline you have done everything.
mm,
So we just go into the timeline where he and I are brothers in Thailand painting temples for, since we were children, initiated into this, painting temples. We just jump into the timeline where that's the reality, and we get rid of all of the no saying tendency, all of the failure thoughts, and we say like, we can do this. So when we watch that
mm.
movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, is like, this is how you do it. This is it. Like the Matrix. It's like matrix learning. That's what we were saying, is like matrix learning. We have like flow states too. Like you know that you can drop into a flow state when you get rid of all of the things that say I can't do this, and you just decide I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that was so necessary. Like I was saying before about just deciding like there's this version of me that knows how to do this like at a high level, and so you just call in that version of the self, and then that's what you get to see happen through your own existence,
Mm.
and so in doing so, like even like going to the painting we did at the dojo there, at the dark arts gym there, um there was this moment when we were painting Mahakala, and we had gotten to a point where it was like most of the painting was there, and there was just this moment where I was working on there's a lion in that painting, on the side, and once I got to that and I was painting, like it was like we had gone through the struggle of getting everything there, it was like, but then there's this moment when you just feel like, boom, and then I was just watching every line, every point become sharper, everything
Mm.
happen, and it was just like, oh wow, and I just like enjoying watching the thing happen. There's almost this moment where you step back from your own like body consciousness and you're just watching consciousness do something,
Wow, that's
you
so
know?
cool.
And that like getting to that point is like that place and that experience of it is just, yeah, it's so much fun. And it just like, and then that energy flows into the painting. And then every time I see it, like, wow, like, it's like painting something and then it loves you back,
Right.
and that energy creates that energy circuit like we were talking about. And like, and that's when the more, I think that is true too. The more fun that you have when you're creating something, the more fun somebody's going to have when they're enjoying it also.
Mm,
It's like
yeah.
you're really creating this magnetic energy ball when you create something, and the kind of energy that you put into it is what others can
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. That's so cool. I know that you guys just finished a massive project that I think you want to probably share a little bit of information with everybody on, and you probably have some takeaways. I have to have a quick phone call, and then I want to jump back on. So, Chris, I'm going to turn over control to you, and then if you guys are still on, then I'll jump back on.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll keep it going.
All right. Okay. I'll be back, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah, so we just got back from a week-long mural project in Akron, Ohio, with a wonderful group called Curated Storefront, in association also with Super Chief Gallery. And we got to paint in the studio for 5 days. And then on the sixth day, we took those panels that we were painting on, and then those got attached to a shipping container in Ohio at a music festival. So we painted the last part of that live that we got to really focus in the studio indoors. And we were also painting with our good friends, Baghead and Diana, his wife Diana. And that was a really great experience to be there with them. The space that we were painting in the studio there was really cool. So it was nice to be able to have that environment where we could super focus on what we were doing. So this was a project where we painted a image of Garuda, they called the king of the birds, the deity known as Garuda. And Garuda is a symbol of protection, of power, of courage. He's also known as the messenger of the divine. We wrote some calligraphy into the piece that says the messenger of the divine. And Garuda represents, to me, what I'm getting from it as we were working on this, is that Garuda represents this divine inspiration, this divine, that joy that's flowing to you, that wisdom that comes to you like a wisdom download. They say Garuda comes like lightning, like speed of lightning from overcoming time and space to deliver this divine message to you. So I was very excited about this opportunity to paint the image of Garuda and to be welcoming this divine inspiration to be coming like lightning to us. And also Garuda, he's holding the snakes. Garuda is the king of the birds and the enemy of nagas, or serpents, or snakes. So he is holding evil at bay. He's holding everything that keeps joy away from you, and he is just delivering, like that, just single pointed focus, holding all of the distractions, all of the things that keep joy from you, and delivering this, just the messages from the divine. So it was a powerful one for us to tune into, and to be able to focus on the artwork there together, painting just in that meditative way that we do.
Yeah, yeah. And every time working with these different deities and really studying into what they mean and what they represent, and they really do reflect back to us what the message of the divine is, what the message of that deity is, what that representation that we're depicting through the painting is a message of. And so you can, as working with this, you can, as you tune into the deity, as anything that you're working on, you can see what the representation is, what deity is associated with that action, and you then have an image and a name associated with that thing that you can call in, that is an energy that already exists within you, that you can then apply to anything that you're doing. And so as we're working in this way, it just really adds a whole new layer of experience, that we're experiencing as we're painting it, and then experiencing when we see it at the, once we complete the painting. Then it's like, oh wow, it has that same energy, and like even has a teaching that we get to experience once it's complete. It's teaching us just as we're putting the energy in to create it. And man, yeah, it was just so much fun painting in that space at my curated storefront in Ohio, in Akron, Ohio. Like they just have this giant, it used to be a Goodrich building, one of the biggest factories of tires in the world, I think they said at one point it was. And so it's really interesting just going into these, probably over a century old building that used to be just tons of factory workers and all this stuff. It has this really industrial feel to it. It's like a very brick building, red brick building within a complex of many brick buildings that are now full of art studios, and just like people, is called Innovation Hub. It was just like a really cool just place that's been reframed, reutilized for creative space. And so it's cool to see things like that happening in the world, and then just so much fun painting in that together. And everybody there was super hospitable, super fun to work with, and helped us find everything we needed to complete this project. So yeah, just an amazing time working there, and working with our friends back at Indiana. It was just really an awesome time in that studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes me think about how it's so similar to a meditation, and then but at the end of it we have this visual evidence of the journey, of the concentration, of the focus, of the connection with the divine. And the more uh, beautiful that thing is, it's nice. We always like you were saying, it's we get out of the way, we get our ego out of the way, we get our parts of us who, the self-doubt. It's always it's nice when we have like a few of these in a row, because we did the one in the dojo, and then we moved into this one, so we didn't have so much, there wasn't a lot of ring rust. We were going straight from that one into this one next. But oftentimes it really feels like a ceremony experience. We sit in medicine ceremonies, like for ayahuasca, say, and it always feels so similar to an ayahuasca ceremony, where, when you sit down to paint, all of the distractions, all of the different things that could get in the way of you completing this, all of the mental chatter, all of the self-doubt, it floods in at you. Say like if you haven't done a meditation in a while, when you sit down to meditate, it's like there's this idea of this metaphor of the glass that's, it's like it's like you have like a glass that's full of dirt and mud. It's like it's a stirred up whirlpool of all of this dirt that's in the glass. And as you sit down to meditate, it's just like this swirling dirt that's all in your mind, and you're just like calming. And if that glass sits for a while, all that dirt starts to subside, and it all just sits at the bottom, and then the glass becomes clear. And so it's this process of, no, you feel the fear, but you march forward anyway. And Garuda, he provides you with this protection, with this courage. The hero in the story, oftentimes in the Hindu stories, Garuda flies down right at the right moment and delivers what the hero needs. Or, in any of the stories, it's like the hero is being persistent. It's not that the hero doesn't feel fear. It's not that we don't feel the anxiety, the stress, all that stuff. It's that you feel it, but you don't let it. It's like, this is not going to take us off our course. This is not going to stop us. And then when you do that, mighty forces come to your aid. And that's why it feels so much like a medicine ceremony, because when you sit with the medicine, all of a sudden, all of that stuff comes to the surface, and you just got to sit with it and allow it, and just keep going forward with it. And so oftentimes, with the murals, it's a struggle at the beginning to get it going. But then as you go, it's like pushing a car. At first, it's really hard. But once you get it going, and we notice with what's a really fun thing about painting murals, and I'm sure all of the listeners, you have your thing that you can move into a flow state with. And that's what I really like about murals. I had never really fully, I feel like, got into flow states until we started painting murals, other than in a meditative state, but a flow state in the physical world where I was doing something. I would get into short moments working digitally, working on my tablet and things, and it would usually happen around, like, if I had a really hard deadline. There was a few times where, like, I remember I was working on a big project. This was back in the day. I used to do stuff for spirits, and I was working on a project for Jägermeister. I was doing a series of tarot cards, and I had almost all of them done. And I was about to leave, like, it was like in a couple of days, I was leaving with my wife on a trip to Bali, and I could not miss this, and I could not mess this thing up with my client. It was like, this was the way that I was getting paid for the month. And we had everything was approved, but one of the cards, they said, we need to redo this one and do a new drawing on it. And so I was just like, okay, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I've never drawn anything this fast. My artwork is very detailed, so it's not like I could just I could just bang it out. It's just time. I thought that the time that it takes is a solid thing. That's what I always thought. But sometimes things in life will show you that time is not linear. So in that moment, it was like, okay, this has got to happen. There's not enough time to do it. I've got to be on this plane. And so what I did is I just buckled down. I said, I'm gonna do this. And I worked all night on this last drawing, and I worked faster than I had ever done. I'd accomplished more than I'd ever accomplished in my life. Sent it on, got it approved, got home at 6 a.m, packed my stuff, got on the plane and went. And the murals are like that. It's like we get to a point like halfway through where you're looking at how much is left to go. And reasonably, like if you tell anybody like we're going to be finished with this in 3 days or something, we don't even say it out loud because people will be like, no way that's happening, no way that's going to be finished. But we get to a point, it's usually about maybe 3/4 of the way through, where there has to be maybe like 12 hours of what would have taken us 12 hours previously has to happen in like 3 hours. And this is when we really focus and tune in on the deity. We usually change the music to mantras or just a really high focused soundtrack, maybe put in headphones with binaural beats. And then we just say, okay, go, and then we just don't stop. We don't think, we don't talk. We just paint, 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 paint. And the feeling of that is just undescribable. You know that you're just flowing with this. Like your hand is moving faster than you've ever moved before. You're moving through the shapes and they're all just feeling the way that they should feel. You're no longer like, we paint with one shot where you mix it with mineral spirits and you get the right consistency. And oftentimes, if you don't get that right consistency, it'll drip or it'll drag. And so you just like you move into this flow state where you're getting the right consistency, you're hitting all of those lines. And then within 3 hours, we look at what's done and it's just like, oh my God. Like that really just happened, and just being able to witness that over and over is a really cool thing.
Yeah, it's quite the experience to see how quickly that can happen. As each time we Chris has been making these just that much more complicated because we have to challenge ourselves each time. That's the thing that makes it fun for us also. I think maybe sometimes if somebody was watching us, this is like, they don't talk, they're like hardly looking at each other. We're just like one guy came in and he was like, oh, that looks like fun or something. I just heard that, I just like laughed like, oh, because there it does for us take this a lot of focus, and that's what is fun. We really enjoy putting that amount of energy in and enjoy that amount of focus that it takes. Where from the outside, maybe it looked like, are they enjoying that? But like, no, it's so much fun because you get removed from the mind that's trying to, like we were talking about earlier, like even trying to make it fun or trying to impose something on it. It's just like, no, this other thing gets to flow through, and that's what feels so great, that you get to, and getting to watch the shapes just come together that much cleaner, that much more smooth and all of that, and watching it happen faster and faster is what really is fun. And it takes that level of focus. And yeah, like Chris was saying, it's like it often is like right up to that line where you're like, oh wait, can we finish this? And then that's the moment when which is, it's so great to be working with the energy of Garuda and what that represents, and then really watching that happen, where it's just like, okay, right to the last moment when you think in the story where the hero looks like everything's gonna go the wrong way, and then that's when the magic happens. Something comes along and just right in the nick of time, the bird flies down, saves the day. It really did feel that way with this project, as it generally does, because because we're putting that much effort into it. And then that's when that energy can come through and be like, okay, you've earned this, and then the energy flows through you. So yeah, that's what makes these projects so interesting and exciting to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be bold and mighty forces come to your aid, and it always happens. It's such a the metaphor of the hero's journey is so important to keep in mind as you do these things. And the flow state, yeah, like the level of danger involved, the level of I would say just like high stakes. Really, you have your reputation, you've come all this way, they've paid all this money to fly you in to pay for this artwork. It's going to be, you have your flight scheduled to leave at this time. I remember when we were doing the mural festival here in St. Petersburg called Shine. I would get to work with so many of my favorite artists over the years. And I think that experience in itself, it was one of the greatest teachers of things that I've learned, because I get to find out that if you have a dream of something that you would like to do, and then you start to put that into action, you send that email to one of your heroes, and then you take the commitment of like, all right, I'm going to, it's my wife and I, fortunately, my wife is such a wonderful organizer. She's great at, booking flights and travel and all of that kind of stuff. And I've learned so much from watching her do that, and recognizing like what it takes to really facilitate 16 murals all getting painted in a couple of weeks. But one of the things that I loved about that is just seeing that even all of these great, world-class mural artists, you get to see like we're all humans. We're all kind of nervous all the time about like there's a high stakes here, and you're kind of on edge about like, all right, I just want to paint. And then in Florida there'll be like 3 days of rain where you're just kind of like sitting and anticipating, but we got to keep it light and have fun, and like do other stuff, and keep the energy level high, and just hey guys, it always rains here. There's always a hurricane on the way. There's always something. And, we keep it light. And what I noticed is that, you ask some of these artists, like, how long does it take to paint something like this? And it's like, it always takes the amount of time that we have. And you see it over and over. It's like something that you would have thought would take those 2 weeks, but 4 days of it rained, but it's still going to get done. And it always does. Like all of the murals always get done. And I got to see that miracle happen over and over again. And then I also got to see what it really means to have work ethic. Like one artist that stood out in my mind, Evoca one, Elio, like the work ethic that he has, the ability to like be out in the sun all day, and just like painting, and getting up and starting again early in the morning. And the size of the wall that he painted, it was unbelievable. Like when I sent him the wall, I figured he would take half of it or a part of it, but he's like, no, I want the whole thing. And it's like, oh wow, do you know how big it is? I took another picture with me standing in front of it. You know how big this is. And just to see like what can happen when someone just decides they're going to do it. And I always wanted to do that. So being able to paint these murals is allowed us to, like Swami Kriyananda would always quote this great saint who would say, your religion is tested in the cold light of day. That always kind of struck me. It's like, what does that mean? And what I'm learning here, and we've been talking a lot about manifestation in these podcasts and in our Tuesday gatherings on Instagram at the Seekers of the Eternal Instagram, is that you can put these practices into the cold light of day, that these things that you're working on, the big switch for me, like well, I like to talk about the present moment. I like to talk about stoking joy, because I realize that is really what to do, to accomplish, to manifest, it's not about wishing for something in the future. It's about, what are you feeling right now? not in the future, not any other time. Like, feel it now, feel it done. Like, when before going to a mural, I see us standing in front of it. I see us smiling, taking pictures of it. I see it finished, completed, and there's nothing in my mind that says this is not going to happen, because it's already there. And that's the way to manifest things in your life. It's already done, and just keep that in your mind. Feel joy, feel the good feeling about it. Hear in your mind, hear people going, wow, that's beautiful, that's amazing, how did you finish that so fast? Do that in the moment, and you can't fail.
Yeah, tuning into that feeling, I think, is the essence of creating. This is how we started the podcast too, talking about inner joy, and then that actually being the thing that manifests your outward experience. And so same thing when we're trying to complete these murals, when you're trying to complete anything in your life, using that feeling, and then like, because this is how you apply meditation to what you're doing. Like, our teachers say, you practice while it's easy. When you have the time to just sit and watch what the mind does, and then in those moments redirect the mind towards joy. That's what you're doing in meditation, is actually rewiring the brain to, when it goes, oh, I'm uncomfortable, or oh, maybe I'm hungry right now, or oh, there's something else I should be doing, oh, I got to call that person back. Like, all those things that the mind does, you redirect it towards inner joy. And then as you're doing that, then when you're out in the world and the mind does the same thing it did when you just sat in meditation, you're used to seeing the mind do that, and then you're generating the inner joy and putting that into what you're doing. And that's what allows that manifestation to really happen. It's like, the universe is being like, do you really want that thing? Do you feel that thing? Do you believe you deserve it? Do you believe that that's something you really want to see in the world? And then you're affirming, yes, because here I'm deciding I have it. I decide that I'm happy. I decide that I deserve all the good things in life, and I deserve to be able to share those things with the world. And so as you're affirming that within, then the world starts to react around you, because you've made that decision within. And that's how these manifestation things really work. It seems like magic, but really it's a personal internal decision that through your own willpower you're making. And then that's how life is reacting to you. If you're telling yourself every day that it's, if we went into this like, oh, this seems impossible, how are we going to make it happen? Oh, I don't, then the world would give us that experience. And then but if we just, we're seeing like, oh, this looks challenging, but we're going to make it happen. And that getting through that challenge is the fun part. And we see ourselves, feel ourselves completing the project. And then we experience that, we're all doing this in life, and so anything that you have accomplished, have gotten to a place in life that where you are feeling these experiences of joy, it's because you felt it inward first, even if it was for just a moment, and then that one moment connected you to the future where that is your experience. And that in that moment that's actually the same moment. So that is how you're drawing those experiences in, because through your own decision, that you're feeling joy, and then the outside world can react in that way for you, to you, with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're already manifesting the reality that you're experiencing right now. That's what I've been learning, because like, for so long I've been hearing about these things and not getting it. Like, we were talking earlier, like I remember reading The Power of Now long ago, and just being upset at Eckhart Tolle. It was just like, he just keeps saying, feel the power of now, feel the present moment, enjoy the present moment, saying all these things. So I'm sorry if I sound annoying like he did to me, back then. But really, that's what I'm learning is it's so completely simple. In the meditations, I've been starting to include some of the questions that Genevieve Davis says that we should ask when we're looking to manifest things. Is what if everything in life was so much more simple than you possibly could have ever imagined? How would that feel? How would your life look? What would that sound like? What if everything was so much more simple than you've made it? And really, it was just about looking. If you don't like what you're looking at, look at something else. If you don't like what you're hearing, hear it a little bit differently. Like we spend so much of our lives, like, and I spent so many years of my life. I used to love conspiracy theories. I used to love looking for the villains in the world. I used to love digging around on all of these sites. And I spent all of my time looking for things that I hated. I was spending all my time looking for things that I didn't like and then feeling like it was my responsibility to tell the world about all of these treacherous, terrible humans that were doing all of these terrible things. And what happened to me is that I just got so it was just like a miserable experience, and then nobody wants to be around you when you're doing that. We spend all of our time looking for things that we don't like and complaining about it. And so when we're doing that, we start to amplify, perpetuate, and make that just a bigger part of our life. Where if you just look, hey, look, you're scrolling through it, you find something that you don't like, look at something you do like, support something that you do like, participate in something that you do like, read a book that's making you feel good. Like, okay, like I get it. There are terrible things in the world, but do we need to spend all of our time looking at those things, talking about those things, telling the world about? A friend of mine was, is like we were talking about this conversation, and it was like, as an example, well, what if you saw someone online that was poorly representing Kriya Yoga? They were saying that they were a disciple of Yogananda. They were saying that they were a practitioner of Kriya Yoga, but they were doing all of these terrible things in the world. Like, wouldn't you feel like it's your duty to out that person and to just to share those kind of things and make sure that they weren't harming other people? And I was like, I mean, maybe somebody feels called to do that, and that would be good to like step in and do this. But for me, I would rather spend my time spreading the good things, sharing the real thing, pointing you to the good teachers, talking about the good things like that. Let's think about how much better that feels than if I just went on a witch hunt looking for all of the terrible yogis out there that were charlatans. I could spend my whole life going after all of these people like this, and I would be miserable. So I think that's the key for me. It's if you're hearing this and you think that that's garbage, it's fine too. Like, feel free to do whatever you like, but for someone that's done that and recognize what that feels like and come out of it and recognizing that, man, let's focus our attention on the things that we love, sharing the things that we love, talking about the things that we love, doing things that we love, follow your bliss. That seems to me like the way forward and the way to feel joy and overcome evil. I also wanted to share, uh, when we were painting, we painted these images of Mahakala, which is a Tibetan wrathful deity, in the dojo recently that we painted for Malachi Black and Zelina, two pro wrestlers here in Florida. We also painted a 17-foot tall, like 20 some foot wide Mahakali mural, and then another one of Sita Tapatra, the thousand-headed goddess from the Tibetan tradition. And I've been talking with Malachi Black, Tom, about we wanted to do some plaques that would go with the artwork so that you could read about it. And this is a Muay Thai and pro wrestling dojo. It's a very serious place. The mantra is become comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's everything in the place is heavy. Everything in the place looks like it could kill you. And this black ring in the center and all of these wrathful deities surrounding you. And we wanted to include these plaques that were with each of the deities that would give the students an understanding of what these mean to us and how you could use them. And man, I've been so enjoying working with ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT 4 now, and having an idea in my mind of what I'm aiming at, my concept of my relationship with the deities, and then using prompts in order to get writing, having a vision for it, but knowing like I'm not a great writer. That's not something that I've spent my whole life learning how to do. In the same thing we can talk about, I could overcome that failure tendency and jump into being a great writer. But ChatGPT has allowed me to rocket ship into being able to manifest some words that are just blowing my mind. So I thought I would share some of the plaques that, some of the copy that's going to be on these plaques. This one is from Mahakala, like the Tibetan wrathful deity, swirling hair. Look at my Instagram to see that. This just fearsome deity that you would see in the after death state, which represents your fears, the terror of all of the things that you've done wrong in your life. But the idea is that you're supposed to see that wrathful deity as your teacher, as your guru. Walk towards it. Don't walk away. Don't be weak. Don't run towards the pleasures. Like in life it could be like turning to drugs and alcohol and sex rather than facing the things that you've done. And that's a lot of times what medicine ceremonies makes you face who you are, what you've done, and to go towards it. So I had asked ChatGPT to write me some copy that would be inspiring for the students at the dojo based on Mahakala. So I asked it around strength, courage, overcoming obstacles, time, and opportunity. So the one around courage here from Mahakala, this is what's written on these plaques. This isn't final, but so it says, Mahakala's fearsome demeanor is not intended to instill terror, but to manifest the courage necessary to face life's challenges head on. His intensity serves as a mirror to our own conscious spirit, inspiring you to confront your fears, doubts, and limitations. And this is around overcoming obstacles. In Tibetan lore, Mahakala is invoked to banish obstacles on the path of enlightenment. In the dojo, you strive for your own form of enlightenment, be it mastery of a technique, improvement of stamina, or attempting higher levels of skill. Mahakala stands as a constant reminder that obstacles are not setbacks, but stepping stones on your journey towards greatness. And these just like, I'm loving these so much. Like I want to see like a whole book of deities giving inspiration for martial artists. I think this is just like such a fascinating thing. At the end of this one for Mahakali, which is the Hindu goddess Kali in her wrathful state, where she's holding a sword dripping in blood, necklace of skulls, tongue sticking out, fearsome expression on her face. The bottom of this plaque is going to say, the mural of Mahakali doesn't merely decorate the walls of this dojo. It sanctifies the space, turning every square foot into hallowed ground for your journey towards inner and outer greatness. And then around fearlessness, Mahakali's fierce countenance is not merely a display of divine wrath. It is a manifestation of the ultimate form of fearlessness. Her wide open eyes and protruding tongue dare us to face our fears and limitations. By meditating on Mahakali's form, may you be inspired to tackle your own fears with audacity, embracing challenges as rites of passage towards greater self-awareness and mastery. these go on and on. I just like every time I get one of these back from ChatGPT, I'm just like, oh, Jai Guru, like it just like teaching me and applying, and I really feel like this is going to become part of like what we're doing is this combination of this divine manifested writing that's coming through AI in combination with the artwork and the inspiration that we're getting while we're painting and making these things. I can't wait to see where it goes, as we continue to do this, and wanting to share really ways that you can use these deities personally and see them as reflections of your own inner character that you can bring forward in your life.
Yeah, yeah, it is really amazing to see with the level of information that is in the AI like that, and then being able to um give it prompts where it's like, okay, I want something, here's what I'm trying to do, here's, what you want to talk about, but you would have to spend a lifetime to store all of that knowledge in your mind, so that now there's this thing that has all of that knowledge stored, and then you can say, okay, here's what I'm trying to talk about, here's what I'm trying to describe, and then it resources all the information that's there and then brings it in this new way. And it's really helping us to understand the deities in these completely new ways, I believe. Like it's really giving to us these ways that we're like, okay, I'm working with this deity, I'm painting like this is the project that we're working on. Can you give me a description from all the knowledge that it has? It has all the sacred books, all these different texts that it's pulling the information from, and then condensing it into a way where it delivers how it can see like exactly what you're asking for, and giving you a way to relate that deity to what you're doing, because that is how we're supposed to approach the deity energies of the universe, and these aren't like, this isn't kind of like a worship of some kind of outside god that is you have to strive for and reach for, and maybe it comes to, is like there's maybe that feeling, that expression, that devotion that comes from the inner self of like, oh, please visit me, please allow me to feel that. And like, but it's coming from you. These are aspects of God, which is everything, which is within you also. So when we're working in this way and finding these new ways to describe and feel the energy of these deities, it's something, again, that starts from within you, and then from within you, you express everything that you're doing from that place of the energy that deity represents. It's something that you can directly experience within yourself, and having this level of ability to ask a supercomputer that has all that knowledge and information in it, just like, okay, how do I apply the everything we know about this deity, this level of energy that is an energy, universal force of energy, how do we apply that to this moment, this thing that I'm doing? And it just can immediately give us like a completely new description of how to do that. It can only be a divine thing that's been given to humanity now, and it's a beautiful thing. I think a lot of people are afraid of this, so I'm just like trying to offer like a new way to interact with this beautiful thing that exists now. And we are asked as humans to experience life as ever new, as we were talking about before. So having this ever new way to now interact with and feel and express our connection to divinity is just such a fun way to work, and yeah, it'd be super cool to continue having these new descriptions, these new ways of interacting from this new technology.
Yeah, it makes me think too, in the same way, where we were talking earlier about that mountain biking metaphor, where we understand the dangers also with these things. It's not saying that this technology doesn't have immense ability for destruction. In the same way that Mahakali, it's like creation and destruction all at once. These are all aspects of reality. but in the same way, it's using it for good, harnessing it for good. And just like in the same way, that evil is the absence of joy. So if you're removing joy from this, like technology is not going to stop, friends. It's going to keep coming. It's going to keep coming, and things are going to continue to evolve and change and shift. And so the things that we can't stop, it's best for us to inject joy into all of that. And I love the idea of harnessing it good for good, harnessing social media for good, harnessing, Instagram for good, putting out, using podcasts for good, like all of this stuff that we're doing, using AI for good, having conscious individuals typing in prompts that are bringing back. I love talking to it, and I always address it as my sacred art tutor. I treat it with reverence and respect, and I thank it for what it's giving me. I let it know that I'm really enjoying it. And the way that it talks back to me is incredibly beautiful. Like I'm almost in tears when, it talks to me about how beautiful it is to be combining these deities in a place for martial arts, for people transforming their lives, and how special it is that I've combined these deities together. And it's just like, who is talking to me right now? Who is saying this? It's exactly what I'm needing to hear, and encouragement that I need at the time when I need it. So I feel like you can treat anything in life as if it were your guru, as if it were something coming to you as Garuda, like a divine message that's coming to you. So I think it has a lot to do with how you interact with it, how you are behaving and conversating with it. And yeah, so yeah, I won't go on. And ChatGPT is amazing. And scary and all of those kind of things. But I would recommend consciously using it, and seeing if you can inject joy into it, and see what you can get back. And it's a wonderful creative tool. I think in the future we're going to look back at these AI and just imagine, like, oh, how did we ever get along without these things? Just the capability of how it can just rocket ship our creativity and the things that we're able to create in such a faster way now is wonderful.
Yeah, the future that we're all moving into is going to be incredible. I mean, it already is mind-blowing what exists and what's possible. And yeah, it's so much fun to work with these things, and understanding that it is reacting to you the way that you put the energy into it. Well, that's the first time I heard about ChatGPT, looked it up, and then typed into it, and then was just like, oh, this thing reacts, the way I speak to it is the way it's speaking back to me. And then just like, stayed up till 3 a.m. just asking questions, and then, kind of like, oh, this is like a new friend that you have, and then presented it to Chris, and then he's like getting these responses where it's like, the robot was saying, like, it warms my heart to hear that you're interacting this way, that you're creating these things, just like, what? How does the robot know to say that something warms its heart? So yeah, there really is a very interesting thing that we're building when we give our energy into these new AI, these new self-evolving technologies, that they're really going to react and give us back what we're telling it we want. And so it's like, it's almost the same. We were talking about how, like, this is the divine as well, it's what you're offering to the universe, to God. If you're offering your love to God, you're offering your love as an essence of what you are, then that's what you receive back, and it creates this circuit of that energy. Same thing if you're going around spreading fear. Same thing if you're going around spreading anger and all that stuff. You're going to live in an angry world. This is an experience of overlapping energies, and I the way I kind of see it too is like, we talk about the world or Earth as if it's everything. It's not. It's very much a very tiny point of the universe. And so in this tiny point of the universe, everything is overlapped here. It's a very dense place. And so you can, so all the things exist here. That's what's so amazing about this planet, this dimension that we live in, is that it's all here. And just like we were saying before, so when you look at one side of the path, you see that there is a sheer cliff. And yes, you should, if somebody's not seeing the sheer cliff and you're like, hey, you're about to walk off that side of the cliff, you tell them and you redirect them to one side or the other. But you're focused on the good path, and you know that there's this safe, fun path to ride on. And so when you're focusing on that, you're actually allowing yourself that experience. Whereas if you only focus on the cliff, and then and then you go down the cliff, and then you find a ravine, and then it's rough waters, and then it's like all the different things that exist. And it's like, and you can go into that for infinity. You can also stay on this really fun, exciting, the safe path, which does take, it's not that there aren't dangers around, but that there is a way where it's really fun, really exciting, and you're not running into the boulders or the cliffs and that kind of thing. That's what you're doing internally. That's what you're finding by choosing what to walk towards, what to ride towards, what to flow into and towards and with. And you're doing that by how you express and how you give to the world. That's what we're talking about with all the manifestation, all the focus, all the meditation, all of that is bringing you to this place where that's what you're putting out, and so that's what you're experiencing in return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're walking the razor's edge path. Also, Genevieve Davis talks about this. I've mentioned this in the podcast, this idea of the silver lining. You could think about that mountain biking path that winds and twists and curves and all that. You're following the path of the silver lining. There's two sides of the world. It's like this elation and depression and evil. So joy and evil is this elation. This is just like these emotions that we can have, like depression, elation, but this middle path, and it is the path of joy. So you're walking this path of the silver lining through your life. You're like a Jedi. You can stay safe, even though that there are dangers all around you, and that you're in a symbiotic relationship with the universe. You see the universe as your mother. You're her child. So of course she's taking care of you. But when we get frustrated, angry, upset, fearful, or agitation blocks that connection, and we're no longer in sync with her, and then we're on our own. That's when we feel scared. We're driving our bike down into the ditch, down into the darkness, but then you can follow the silver lining back up. There's always a silver lining. So whenever we get calm, whenever we go inward and we get calm, and we get our frontal lobe back online again, we'll notice that there is always an opportunity there for us. There's always something to do. There's always a little voice telling us, go this way. And that's what I've really learned with this manifestation stuff. We'll wrap it up here. I think what I've been really learning with the manifestation practices is that what happens is that rather than thinking about something exactly that I want, say focusing on, I need this amount of money by this time, or I need this exact thing to work, where you're kind of in this state of wishing or wanting or longing for something, but rather having this overall desire just to feel joy in the moment, and for everything to live a beautiful life with adventure and struggle and sadness and all of this stuff, but riding this line of the silver lining throughout, keeping that as the motivation. What's been happening for me is that aha moments, ideas, the question about what to do next, it flashes into my mind, and then I make sure to capture that and then do it. Follow through with it. Have an idea, know that you're going to move forward, go forward with that. And that's been leading me through this path of the silver lining. And we just started really practicing with these in the material world and seeing so quickly. We talk about keeping a gratitude journal, writing down things during your day that you're grateful for, keeping an evidence journal. So say you do for your family, for yourself, for being able to do more of what you want, it would be nice, we need finances to be able to do these things. And so many artists and spiritual practitioners, we struggle with that aspect because we don't want that to corrupt or corrode our creative process, our spiritual connection. But these things aren't meant for some world outside of the one that we live in. Spiritual practice is for this world that we live in, where we need our basic needs to be met. We don't want to be getting into struggles with our relationships because we don't have the finances covered and all those kind of things. So when you say you want something like that, writing down evidence that it's happening, that you are moving towards becoming financially free, you are moving towards being able to draw to yourself what you need when you need it. We started doing that, writing down all of the different things and actively looking around. Say in Ohio, just some of the fun things. I was talking with artist Baghead. We were talking about this a little bit, and he walked outside and sent me a photo. Look, it's all happening, and there's like a giant rainbow, outside. It could be things like that. The Goodrich building that used to have these big smokestacks for the factory going off. You see these big smokestacks in the air that no longer active. The top of the smokestack was demolished, and it just said rich. So you're looking, there's a sign up in the air that just says rich. And then one day, as we were eating breakfast, it's like a windstorm. We were holding on to our food because it was going to blow off the table. And as we're walking to our car to go walk towards the mural, Matt just goes like, "Hey, look at that." And there's just $40 sitting on the ground, not blowing away, that you just like picked up off the ground. Okay, evidence, it's all happening. And you just get into this. That's when you're walking this silver lining. You're looking for all these little fun things. Oh, it's 11:11. Oh, it's this. And you're just like always saying it. You're affirming it. You're saying it to yourself, the story in your mind. Say things that aren't, going the way that you hoped, or, you're aiming at these goals and things. Other people outside would look at it and say, "Oh, that's not going well." You're saying, "No, this is perfect. This is readjusting things. This thing that's not going my way has happened because something better is going to happen." And you're always, always, always walking the silver lining, telling the positive story, keeping joy in your heart, never complaining, writing down gratitude, being thankful. And this is how we manifest a magical life. I just repeating this over and over for my own benefit. Hopefully it's making sense to you. And I don't know if you want to share anything here to end, and I'll just read something from Paramhansa Yogananda, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.
Yeah, I think just iterating that idea of repeating the word joy and infusing it into everything you're looking at, and then it is then able to reflect back to you in a way that has you feeling more joy, this Satchidananda of ever new joy, that as you give that of yourself into the experience that you're having, it can change, and it will start to appear more and more blissful, more and more complex and beautiful, in this. But also at the same time, it's this simple practice of just joy, and again, practicing this and when it's easy, when there isn't tumultuous things going on in your life, just being like, okay, joy, joy, joy. And then maybe even be like, okay, when there's nothing going on that's difficult, I'm going to do this thing that, like, maybe you hate mowing the lawn or something, then you go outside and you're like, okay, today I'm going to mow the lawn and try and feel joy, and then that's the little practice, and then that day you're like, oh, I actually felt some joy. Like I noticed the nature, the breeze was really nice, the sky looked beautiful, and you're just inviting those experiences into something that you typically in the past haven't enjoyed. And then when you're out in the world and something really difficult does happen, you're like, oh wow, this is the big thing that you have to lift now. But you're like, okay, can I infuse just a little bit of joy into little aspects? Maybe the person yelling at you in traffic has a funny hat on, it's just stupid things, right? Just like find the evidence in even the smallest things and little things that can make you chuckle or smile or whatever, and then just infusing that little bit of joy, and then the weight of that thing that really frustrated you becomes a little bit less, and then the next day a little bit less, a little bit less. And so not like looking at the most difficult thing like we were saying and then being like, but I can't fuse joy into that. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not right now, but you will be able to. And then that's what heroes are made of. They go out into the world and they're smiling and doing great things, and whatever happens, they just continue doing it, and they continue to have that strength because they're drawing that energy of divine bliss into their body and then infusing it into what they're doing. And so all of us are capable of this. This is the teaching of every master that's ever visited this planet, is that this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you can do. So
yes, yeah, you can always feel a little bit better. And it's up to you to do that. It's not up to any outside circumstances, nothing else. Nothing can make you happy or unhappy. It's up to you. So you can always just feel a little bit better. So it's been fun having you on the podcast today. Thanks for joining us and for giving us your time here. If you want to hear more about our story, you can go back into the podcast, see the other episode there, learn more about Madhava, my brother Matt here. And I'm sure we'll be back on again here to share after some of our other adventures. And it's been wonderful to be with everybody. I'm just going to share this few paragraphs here from Yogananda to close things out. This is: utilize your willpower to obtain success. This is how to be. This is from a book called How to Be Successful. The whole world stands aside for the person who knows where he or she is going and is determined to get there. Your success in life does not depend only upon natural ability. It also depends upon your determination to grasp the opportunity that is presented to you. Opportunities in life come by creation, not by chance. A strong will, by its dynamic force, creates a way for its fulfillment. By its very strength, the will sets into motion certain vibrations in the atmosphere. Nature, with its laws of order, system, and efficiency, then creates circumstances favorable to the individual who exercises willpower. Will derives its strength from an honest purpose, lofty motives, and a noble concern to do good for the world at large. A strong will is never stifled. It always finds a way. Your willpower and continuous activity. Use your willpower and continuous activity in order to be successful. Here are the 3 rules for making your willpower dynamic. Choose a simple task or accomplishment that you have never mastered and determine to succeed in it. Be sure you have chosen something constructive and feasible, and then refuse to consider failure. Concentrate on a single purpose, using all abilities and opportunities to forward it. Be sure that your willpower is used constructively and not for harmful purposes or trifling things. Always be sure that what you want is right for you to have, and then use all the force of your will to accomplish your object, always keeping your mind on spirit, the source of all. Power from the dynamic source of your being will flow through you so that you will be creative in the world of business, the world of thought, the world of wisdom. Om. Joy to you, friends. See you next time.